Welcome back. The war is not new, but the twist in the battle is unprecedented. Today, the BJP boycotted a swearing-in ceremony. Unhappy with the man being sworn in, the party decided not to make an appearance but went further, lodging their protest with the President of India. This is growing into a huge political controversy, ironically, over a man who has the mandate of checking corruption at the highest level in India, the new Chief Vigilance Commissioner.
I, PJ Thomas, having been appointed Central Vigilance Commissioner of the Central...
He is the man with the mandate of checking corruption in the government.
...to the Constitution of India, as by law established, perform the duties of my office without fear or favor, affection or ill will.
But his appointment already controversial.
We have already given our apprehensions and objections. Everybody has the weightage. Though not a veto, it is expected that they address the concerns and apprehensions of all.
No one present from the BJP, not even the leader of the opposition.
The BJP's main objections against the candidature of PJ Thomas as the Chief Vigilance Commissioner that the officer had faced corruption charges even though he may have been exonerated later, and secondly, he was the incumbent telecom secretary and did nothing to prevent the 2G spectrum scam.
In a first ever, the main opposition party boycotting the ceremony.
In a democracy, you are entitled to have a different view. But at the end of the day, if there is nothing concrete against a person, to lampoon an institution just for the sake of scoring political brownie points, I do not think augurs well.
The former telecom secretary, the current Chief Vigilance Commissioner. The latest reason of friction between the government and the BJP. With Navika Kumar in New Delhi, Deepal, Times Now.
Okay, well, let me welcome Ravi Shankar Prasad, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, Jayant Bhushan, senior lawyer of the Supreme Court. Thank you very much. My first question goes to Abhishek Manu Singhvi. Legally you are in the wrong, sir. That is the view. Legally, because as per the procedure for selecting a Central Vigilance Commissioner shall be made by a committee comprising the Prime Minister, Home Minister and the Leader of the Opposition, from a panel of outstanding civil servants and others with impeccable integrity. In other words, without the BJP's permission, you could not have gone ahead with the appointment of this gentleman, Mr. Thomas, as the CVC of India.
Are not completely wrong. Legally, factually, equitably, we are totally right. And let me just put this 2 or 3 facets in perspective. Just give me a minute.
Sure.
The BJP is trying to create a veto and to rewrite the entire act. There is a committee of 3 persons. At the end of the day, if Ms. Sushma Swaraj does not agree, that's her prerogative. She has gone to the extent of recording a voice of dissent, okay. But beyond that, there is a point of time when she has to put a quietus. The other 2 have to decide 2-1. It doesn't mean that by not deciding or by opposing, the BJP nominee can scuttle the procedure. That's not the law. Number 2, she has no veto at all. Be very clear on that. Number 3, this gentleman in question, on the equitable, on the factual part, is mentioned descriptively in inquiry in which nothing at all is remotely found against him. No. According to the BJP, he must bear the cross of being mentioned in the name, by name there for the rest of his life. He has nothing to do with the 2G spectrum scam. He has nothing to do with the whole issue. No. But they say no, you must appoint someone whom we decide.
No, I'm on first on the merits of the gentleman.
One last thing.
Okay.
One last thing. This conduct of the BJP, regrettably, is completely consistent with their continuous degradation, devaluation of institutions. It started with the Election Commission, with the Modi comment on Lingdo. It went to other Election Commission appointees. It has happened recently with the Supreme Court on the Amit Shah Gujarat issue. It is happening now with the CVC. Unfortunately, therefore, the BJP is no respecter of institutions.
Okay.
They have not contributed to their building up, but they are contributing to their demolition.
Okay. Now, you made 3 points. The third is political. The first point was about the nature of selection and second on the individual. On the individual I'll come to later. On the nature of selection, what does the law say? Ravi Shankar Prasad, what's your reading?
Now I have got the judgment of the Supreme Court of 1998, Vineet Narayan versus the Union of India. I am having a copy of it.
Okay.
And what you just read figures at paragraph 58, where the Supreme Court says the selection shall be made by a committee of the three, PM, HM and the LOP in the Lok Sabha, from a panel of outstanding civil servants, mark the word, furnished by the Cabinet Secretary of impeccable integrity. This shall be done immediately. That's what the Supreme Court says in paragraph 58. Now, what did Sushma Swaraj say? She said there was inquiry against Mr. Thomas in Kerala. He was the telecom secretary, whereas per our estimate 60,000 crore is there. You have shown it on T2G. CBI raided, has given a report of 22,000 crore of a scam. What steps did he take as telecom secretary to remedy the measure? No. Did he report to the cabinet secretary? Did he, just a minute please, did he complain to the Prime Minister? Sushma Swaraj said, only keep him out. Appoint anyone else. There were two, she said, appoint any one of them. She said, have one day the adjournment. Now this insistence to have only Thomas. Now let me quote the other paragraph of paragraph 58 of the Supreme Court judgment. CBC would have the power of superintendence over the functioning of CBI. Now see the contrast. CBI is inquiring into 2G spectrum in the telecom, where he was the telecom secretary. Now as the CBC, he will oversee that. Number two, and that's equally very important, there was an opinion by the telecom ministry to the CBC that you don't interfere in policy. The law minister repudiated that.
No.
And as far as devaluation of institution are concerned or no, let me reply and let the nation know through your channel. Why is the Congress insisting upon Mr. Thomas?
Why?
Do we not have any other officer of impeccable integrity?
No.
That's the question we are asking.
Okay.
Because surrounding circumstances are suspicious.
No,
that's point number one.
Congress is saying you don't have a veto.
We had complained. And Gopal Swami Iyengar also concurred with that, wrote an opinion to the President of India, which the Congress short-circuited.
No, but Congress is
you
saying...
You would devalue the institution.
Congress
deliberately, just a minute. You would devalue the institution. And if in opposition we protest, you would overrule it, ride roughshod, and then say we are devaluing. You rightly pointed out. The CBC has to oversee transparency, accountability, and action against corruption. And if an officer whose department is tainted in corruption is the CBC, the country is entitled to ask questions.
I'm going to come to the point of, you know, Mr. Thomas and his background in just a bit. But the point, Ravi Shankar Prasad, that the Congress is making to you bluntly today, is you don't have a veto. You're imagining that you have a veto. The Prime Minister, Home Minister have decided you don't have a veto. Abhishek Manu Singhvi has told you don't have a veto. Mr. Singhvi, actually I don't understand your point, because if I read,
let me reply to it. Can I say, Arnav? Can I explain? Arnav, it is not a question. Abhishek, just a minute. I am not saying a veto, but when the selection by three people are to be done, there has to be a consultation. And when Sushma ji repeatedly said, please remove him, appoint anyone else of the same panel. No, we will appoint only this officer.
So what is the motive you are reading, sir?
Arnav, the point we are Arnav, very important. 1 minute, Arnav.
Okay, Abhishek Manu Singhvi is starting. Mr. Bhushan, I'm coming to you.
Very quickly. Arnav. My good friend Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad is right and fair and rightly concedes before you there is no veto. Let's get step by step.
I don't know if he considered that.
A veto, just a minute. Veto means, see, I did not say that. I said consultation, proper consultation, Abhishek. Mark my word. 1 minute. I said proper consultation. Let's break down. Let's not get into verbiage. Let's not get into semantics. Let's break it down. If ideal situation in an ideal world, all three persons should agree. Now assume that just like Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad is saying, why insisting on Thomas, I ask him the question, why is Ms. Sushma Swaraj insisting not on Thomas? Therefore there is a disagreement. Is there any law, practice or procedure in any manner which suggests that merely by saying no, the man can't be appointed unless there is consensus? Answer is no. That's point one. That is the meaning of saying no veto. Number two, in the event that there is no consensus, obviously 2-1 majority has to prevail.
No, no.
Number three,
No, this
what
majority
is the
rule is not there.
saying?
No, there's nowhere there. No,
Of
sorry,
course it
Dr.
is.
Singhvi. No, 1 second.
One
Dr.
minute,
Singhvi.
1 minute.
Dr. Singhvi, one
One
minute.
sec,
sir.
one sec,
One
Arnab.
minute, Dr. Singhvi.
There is equally no consensus rule.
No, Dr. Singhvi.
There is this rule which is being evolved. Let me ask a blunt question. Let me ask Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad in
Dr.
fairness.
Singhvi.
Forget this case. Does it mean that if 3 people don't agree, no CVC can be appointed?
No, 1 second.
Let any lawyer say that, I will dispute it.
Okay, you will dispute it. I'm going to go to Dr. Bhushan, but I'm just going to read out.
Completely.
One minute. I'm going to go to third voice. No, I'm going to go to Mr. Bhushan there. But before that, as per the Central Vigilance Commission Act 2003, it says very clearly, plain English, it says, provided every appointment under this subsection shall be made after obtaining the recommendation of a committee consisting of Prime Minister, Minister of Home Affairs and Leader of the Opposition. So the recommendation of the committee is not there if one of the members of the committee is not agreeing. Let me get Jayant Bhushan's point of view on that. Mr.
No,
Bhushan,
that's a veto. That's not a veto. I'm sorry.
Okay, not
the
a veto.
recommendation is 2-1.
Jayant
The
Bhushan.
recommendation 2-1 is appoint Mr. Thomas. That's the 2-1
Now, I'll
recommendation.
come to the merits or demerits of Mr. Thomas just right now after this. Mr. Bhushan, where do you stand on this?
I agree with Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad on this, primarily for the reason that this is not a case where there are 3 independent people in the committee. There are 2 people belonging to the ruling government, that is the Prime Minister and the Home Minister, and 1 additional person, that is the Leader of the Opposition. So therefore the whole idea of including the Leader of the Opposition was that the government should not have a complete say. If you accept what Dr. Singhvi says and say that by a 2-1 majority the government can appoint him, then the Leader of the Opposition becomes redundant in this whole process. Therefore, since the act is silent, the judgment is not absolutely clear on this, whether it can be by majority or whether the third person can have a veto. I would tend to agree in this situation that it should be unanimously by all 3, particularly in view of the fact that it says impeccable integrity, and where the Leader of the Opposition has a question mark about the integrity of the person, I feel that the government cannot appoint him by a 2-1 majority.
No, but if this issue was raised earlier, I just want to ask you, Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, when did you make this? When did you raise this issue? And how seriously did you make this point to the government?
Yes, Arnav, I deeply appreciate it. When the consultation process starts, the panel is presented to the committee, not before that. And that panel also includes the CV of all the concerned officers. And I think Abhishek is completely wrong. I appreciate what Jayant just stated. You rightly read recommendation. And the Supreme Court said selection shall be made by a committee. Therefore, this whole element of veto is a Congress creation which are reading into the act which is not there.
Okay.
I really appreciate what Jayant stated about why LOP is there of opposition. Therefore, now I come to the again basic point. Sushma ji was fair enough to tell them, ignore Thomas, appoint the other 2, any one of you like. I have no objection. Or in the event, these 2 officers you do not like, have a new panel. Adjourn it for a day. But said, no, we will do it. And now try to appreciate one thing. That's very important. You cannot ignore this very important word of impeccable integrity.
Yeah.
We are not in a court of law, my good friend Abhishek and myself. Point number 1, point number 2. We are debating an issue of moment impinging upon the transparency and action against corruption in the country.
No, okay.
If that is the case, then why you are keen to ignore if there are suspicious circumstances, which they are. You cannot wish away the 20,000 crore scam CBI has found in the telecom department, where you were the secretary.
The question is
why? Why insistence?
No, the question is he was telecom secretary to A. Raja, who is caught in the 2G spectrum scam. Being the telecom secretary, had to defend A. Raja. If the CBC investigates the 2G scam at a point, will there not obviously be a conflict of interest, Dr. Singhvi?
Obviously. Can I answer now?
Yeah.
Let me answer all the 3 points. First of all, at least both of them have to admit that there is no specific suggestion about consensus or unanimity. It's an interpretation by Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, now supported by Mr. Jayant Bhushan. Well, if there is therefore a violation of the act that you are appointing a person without unanimity, I think anybody is open to challenge it. I can say with certitude, at least with my limited understanding of law, that it is never intended to be because the argument can be given equally the other way around. Any opposition party, merely by being inconvenient and disagreeing, can scuttle the appointment and make an appointment impossible. Therefore, that interpretation, it would require a very specific language. And my two friends, just one second, my two friends there are trying to rewrite a section which doesn't require that. Anybody is welcome to challenge that interpretation. The Congress stands by it. Number one. Number two, what is this? You give a person a bad name and try to hang him. Let's go to the equities of it now. Equities and political logic is not divorced from broad basic logic. Here is a person, what is this conflict of interest people are talking about? There is no conflict of interest because it is not even the case of Ms. Sushma Swaraj.
No, there's a question
that
of
Thomas had anything to do, one minute, that Thomas had anything to do at all with the alleged so-called 2G scam.
No, but
now he is telecom secretary, and today as CVC, remember every CVC prior to this CVC also comes from the bureaucracy.
No,
he has been secretary in 20 departments. He may investigate all those departments.
No, when you say
how does it matter?
No, when you say
the conflict would arise.
No.
Number three, impeccable. A person many years ago in Kerala is mentioned in an allegation. He is not the principal accused. He is not the main accused. He is mentioned in passing.
Sir,
even that mention in passing completely exculpates him subsequently. This is very unfair. What about his fundamental right? What about his fundamental right to ensure that when he has been honorably acquitted, why is he not of impeccable integrity? Tell me one fact which you have found against him or Ms. Sushma Swaraj found against him. No. This is actually asserting a veto because the opposition says we must have a say and we must give a bad name. And one last point, this whole exercise, let me assume that Ms. Sushma Swaraj was correct. After the appointment is made, is it fair to make sure that the CVC is preempted as an institution and been imported before the man is appointed?
Sir,
what is all this tantrum and drama of boycotting a swearing-in ceremony? This is deliberately trying to weaken institution beforehand.
I'll just get rebuts here first from Mr. Bhushan, who's been listening on patiently. Abhishek Prasad, I'm coming to you in just a bit. Yes, Mr. Bhushan, can this be challenged?
Please give me time.
I'll give you time to respond. Let Mr. Bhushan come in. Yes.
Yes, I think it can be challenged. I think the requirement of this committee recommending a person's name in this context where two people are from the government would mean that all three would have to recommend him. I think it can be challenged. Number two, Dr. Singhvi just said that you are hanging a man without you're just on the basis of hearsay. Well, we are not saying anything damaging about him. All we are saying is that he should not be appointed as a CVC. That's all. Nobody has a fundamental right to be appointed as a CVC. Let him not be CVC. Let somebody who all three people think has impeccable integrity be appointed as CVC.
Okay. Are you going to challenge it? Besides the ceremonial part of, symbolic thing of boycotting the ceremony, if you feel the case is strong, are you going to take it to court? Mr. Prasad?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking Mr. Prasad that. I just want to know whether the BJP will take this issue to court.
Yes. No, first of all, at a very fundamental point. You ask a very important question from Abhishek, he did not reply. When we make appointment like this having all India implications of propriety, propriety is the most important consideration, not legal semantics. And the very fact that you are the telecom secretary, before you are getting elevated as CVC, where there is a big scam, why only
but
this
officer
not
implicated in the
has
scam,
not
they
been
say.
replied at all?
Congress is saying he is not implicated.
There is also a surrounding circumstances. Or now there is also a surrounding circumstances. That's what I am saying. He worked under Raja, and the CVC earlier inquired about that department, and that department tried to stonewall that are all matters of record. The second issue, he is saying drama of boycott. I deeply condemn this use of expression against the leader of opposition.
Are you taking him to court?
No, just a minute. You will ride roughshod. You will oppose. You will not have concern for propriety. And when Sushma ji will boycott, you will call it a drama. Then she will go to the president.
That is the right.
Call it a drama.
That is the right to
we are not in emergency. We are, Mr. Abhishek, Singhvi, we are not in emergency. We are in a democracy.
Are you going to challenge
the right to protest? And please withdraw the word of drama.
Are you challenging
it? We are a vibrant democracy and we have got the right to protest.
Are you challenging yes or no?
Perhaps you have not forgotten the way you superseded that is during emergency.
Okay.
The way you curbed freedom. Therefore, how far you have concern for institution, the country knows.
Now, are you challenging it or not? Are you challenging it or not? Are you challenging it or not? No, let me ask.
That is a question of detail.
No, why detail?
That is a question. That is a question of detail.
Constitutionality.
But Congress party and the Prime Minister stands exposed before the nation as to the way in which
I'm coming to you, Dr. Singhvi. I'm just trying to see if I can. No, doctor.
Who was not fit to be elevated.
No, 1 second.
Arnab, you have just seen. Arnab, you have just seen another mini drama here. You have seen a drama where the question you asked about are you challenging is not answered. It is not answered because if you challenge, you have a very, very fair chance of losing and your stand gets exposed. You have seen a drama where you have gone from emergency to supersession of judges. 1 minute.
Abhishek,
you have gone from 1 minute, let me complete.
On
you have gone from emergency
on propriety
on emergency from
because you have no answer.
From emergency to supersession you have gone. But you must appoint people on the will of the wisp, perceptual, subjective approach of words like surrounding circumstances, propriety. These are subjective words on which appointments must be done because you think it is improper, I think it is proper, therefore you decide. Impeccable integrity is decided by a 3-person committee. 2 think is impeccable,
there is
1
no scam in the telecom department.
2 1 has to decide.
Your case,
you can't accept
case that CBI has found 20,000 crore scam? What are you talking, Abhishek? Come on Times now you have debated 2G spectrum, you and me, a number of times. Can you wish
now you are doing nothing but emotion, you are doing nothing but emotion,
everything is going
devoid of logic,
and you are completely going out of
20,000, 32,000, completely irrelevant to Mr. Thomas's appointment. Don't think that politics is devoid of logic.
Abhishek.
Don't think it's all about emotion and don't think it's all about drama.
So much in newspaper
it's not about drama at all.
Okay, gentlemen. Okay, I've not got a clear answer yet.
You use the word. You must have respect for LOP. She's an eminent leader of the country. You called it drama. I condemn it again. But you must withdraw it. But you are the representative of Congress party here.
But if you
must have civilized language to be used against the leader of the opposition.
Sir, but Mr. Prasad, nice. We're all fire and brimstone tonight, Mr. Prasad. You're all fire and brimstone tonight. But on my answer, my basic question on the Central Vigilance Commission Act 2000.
The Congress spokesperson, Arnav Goswami, I repeat, the Congress spokesperson must learn to give respect to the leader of opposition. If he will use these words, he will get a back from me.
Okay.
He represents the political party which is in power. There has to be a civilized use of expressions.
Okay. Now, you're not going to challenge it. You're not going to challenge it. That could not.
As far as challenge is concerned, we will devise our strategy. Okay? That is open to us.
Okay. Ravi Shankar Prasad, Abhishek Manu Singhvi and Jayant Bhushan. Thank you so much for that debate. That is a controversy. The BJP has gone to the president. Where do you stand on it? We are getting a lot of feedback from you. Thank you so much for that, and we'll pass it on to our participants on this debate tonight. And the other debate is coming up in 2 minutes from now after our next news report. We have had strikes. 1 doctor's strike ended, another is still on. Rajasthan, 57 people died during the doctor's strike. Isn't that an absolute contravention